Hello, people. How you doing today? I am Lee Cole 3, and I'm here with my partner, James Proctor. James, I know you just started a new job. How's it
hmm
going?
Hey, doing really good. Thank you. It's just really hot out here in Atlanta area.
What's the temperature there today?
Oh God, it's 100 degrees.
It's 105 here,
Uh,
but we have no
wow.
humidity, so there's a big difference.
Yeah, that is a big difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, 90 degrees with 100% humidity is a lot worse than 105 with 30% humidity. I really
Yeah,
believe that.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so we're gonna it's kind of interesting. The other day, Mikey Scars came on, and he was really upset at Sammy Gravano. And so we're going to go deep. We're going to talk about what Mikey Scars was upset about, but we're going to go deeper than that. We're going to talk about uh, Sammy Gravano's lack of respect for women
hmm
over his lifetime, and we're going to give you certain examples, and we'll pick it up from there. I mean, do you think that? I'm going to read you something right here. This is
Okay.
when the FBI released Sammy Gravano to the free to the world.
hmm
Was his psychological report. Part of his psychological report said the psychological evaluation said that Gravano should be monitored closely and that there was a substantial likelihood that he would engage in violent criminal behavior in the future. A moderate likelihood that he would engage in non-violent criminal
mm
activity in the future.
mm.
So here he is, FBI. They're releasing him to the world, and this is his psychological
So
profile.
substantial likelihood for criminal behavior that's violent, while only moderate if it's nonviolent. So
And
that's not a good report.
drug dealing is considered violent, and
hmm
that's what he got into. Nobody knows if he committed violence in that, but this is so. When we're talking about Sammy Gravano, he's 78 years old. Do you think that he has showed any remorse whatsoever, even against toward innocent people?
No, I mean that's been my biggest issue with him. I understand, it's one thing that he testified, that's bad enough, but then when he continues to come onto YouTube and it's a platform where he's getting rewarded very well financially, and he is going in there and just using his platform as a way to dig the knife deeper. He's doing it to get back at those people that he said did him wrong or he didn't like, and he's just been using that to rewrite history and mold it into whatever way he wants.
Now, I'm going to play you a recording. It's a short recording of what he said about a man that he killed or had killed, Louie Milito, his partner, his best friend, who he murdered, who
hmm
disappeared off the face of the earth, never to be seen again. And this is what he said about the man's wife, who and his wife, Lynda, wrote a book called Mafia Wife,
Yep.
and she's very negative of Sammy. And to this day, all these years later, Sammy still talks horrible about her. And this is what he recently said. This is this week, people. This is what he said. Louis Milito's wife wrote a book. Will you make a video about the book?
Bro, Louie Milito's wife is a fucking dingbat, complete fucking retard. Yeah, I like to write a book about it. You know what she said? She did an interview with a guy one time, and she don't like me. She badmouths me all the time. So she said that Louie Milito told her that me and Louie killed Jimmy Hoffa and buried her under the Staten Island Bridge. It's the most insane shit I ever heard in my life. Yeah, we dug up the fucking Staten Island Bridge and we put him underneath. And she's completely nuts. A raving maniac. So, yeah, I don't know what she said in the book. I'm sure she wasn't nice to me. But I mean, she's really a fucking weirdo of weirdos. Yeah. So I don't bother with her. I love Louie Milito's daughter. She used to sit on my lap. I used to call her princess. beautiful kid, inside and out. His son became handicapped. He got into an accident. His whole body was in a body cast from top to bottom for a year. So he don't walk right. He was a little bit like Louie, a little wacky, but a good kid. So I know the whole family. After the day when Louie helped finish their house with construction and a bunch of things, I don't think she ever really liked me. I never liked her. I never understand why. Louie loved ugly fucking women. And the proof is in the picture. If she wrote a fucking book, look at her picture, bro. I mean, he outdid himself with her. That's why he married her. I mean, you can't find nobody uglier than her, bro. So I hope that's not an insult.
Next question.
Let's get away from that. All right.
Okay. AR-15.
Hey, this is Lynda Milito. Look how ugly she is.
Yeah, she's you know,
Beautiful woman.
me, beautiful woman. Yeah.
Okay. And Sammy, if somebody said something about your wife being ugly, that would be a lie too. She's not an ugly woman, Sammy. But are you going to compare her with her? I mean, that's a rotten thing that you just did. So, you know, when you do rotten stuff, people are going to do rotten stuff to you. But for you to come out and talk about this woman like this, and I'm going to give you what Mikey Scars, and now let's put up what Mikey Scars thinks about what you had to say. Okay, once again, this is from Mikey Scars' show with RJ Roger, just so everybody knows, it's called No Excuses. And he put this on YouTube. They also have a Patreon page that you can go to. But and we got permission to play a short snippet of this, and that's what we're going to do.
You want to be upset that she knows, like everybody else knew, before you flip, that you killed her husband. He got so annoyed with her. Maybe, see, they think, again, hey, look, flesh sweater. It's not even a joke anymore because I can't even make fun of it at this point. But that's why I don't go away. You're talking about a guy that you murdered, your best friend. Now you want to, after all these years, talk about his son, who, if he was handicapped, right? You still don't fight like hell to keep him alive and put him on the shelf? If it's true that he tried to save him. Well, it's a lie. Everybody go to, it's a lie. He tried to save nobody that he said that died that was involved with him. He tried to save nobody. The only one he saved was Nicky Cowboy for the Colombo family. Got him and then took him on him and then killed him anyway.
Okay, so what do you think about what Mikey said there?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do know, he never did try to save Milito, Louie Milito. He actually went and asked permission to have him killed. He was upset about talking about Sammy was upset because Louie didn't want to do any more business with him. Also, he had done business previously with Tommy Bilotti, and so this was something that upset Sammy, and it was due to perceived of not being loyal. Well, the other thing is that Sammy, you know, got into a position where he had authority, and he was able to have him killed. And so, you know, it's not true that he tried to save him. So regarding the wife, regarding the children, or the son, so, you know, he shouldn't even be talking about his son or their son, because you know, he has issues, and, you know, physical handicap and issues. And so, you know, there's no need to bring that up. And then regarding the wife, you know, she is not ugly. she is traumatized. I've read her book, and some of it isn't accurate. It's not, she didn't necessarily know everything that went on in the life.
She knew what Louie told her.
Yeah, and Louis probably joking
And
about
gangsters
that.
exaggerate.
Oh yeah, about Jimmy Hoffa and all that, probably just joking around. And so, who knows? She might have believed it, but anyway, the issue is that Lynda Milito had a bad sense of Sammy from the beginning. So they knew Sammy even before, Sammy from the neighborhood. So it wasn't anything new. So it's like from the late 60s, early 70s that Lynda knew Sammy Gravano. And so, she just didn't feel comfortable with him. And then she knew that when her husband didn't come home, that he was dead. She knew that. And then to make matters worse, this wasn't brought up in this, but so what ended up happening is that he's killed, died, and Sammy gives her like $1,000 and tells her just to stay away. He doesn't want anything to do with her. And then of course he has to talk on his podcast, his show, saying, "Oh well, I went to his casket and said, or whatever," and he always blames the person. So
yeah, and we're going to talk about his women victims of abuse. Okay, the next woman that he abused, he murdered his. He had his brother-in-law murdered. He says, and here's the thing about the brother-in-law's murder. You're going to hear people say, "Oh, the brother-in-law was murdered because he was gay, or he was a drug addict." There were several reasons. His name was Nicholas Scabetta. And here's the thing, though. Anything they knew about Nicholas Scabetta information was given 2 decades later by Sammy Gravano about Nicholas Scabetta. So nobody knows whether he was gay. No one knows whether he was a drug addict. This is all stuff. See, this is what we're talking about when you change history.
Yep. And then supposedly was saying bad stuff about gangsters and clubs and just, it was all types of just.
There were so many reasons why they killed him. Basically, and Sammy, and it's like you said, he's talking about the gangsters. He's gay. He's a drug addict. And Paul Castellano wanted him hit. But this is what Sammy does. There's no witnesses left to why he was killed.
Yeah. And he's even used that as an example of why he decided to go along with the hit to take out Paul was on that. And so, but then he said other reasons, it's just, everything is different with him. He doesn't remember the lies that he tells.
So that is abuse toward your wife, Sammy. She went 20 years wondering what happened to her brother and didn't realize that the guy laying next to her in the bed was part of the murder.
Yeah.
Of her brother-in-law. Of your brother-in-law, her brother.
Her brother, yep.
That's who you had. And you could say other people had her murdered and whatever, but you always have so many stories of why they killed him. Okay? So that's victim number 2. And, and this woman is a victim. Okay. And here, I'm going to compare her to her daughter. This woman's a victim because she was your typical mob wife. Her husband was a mobster. He had affairs he had a woman on the side. He treated her like garbage. And even when he went into his drug dealing business in Arizona, this woman wound up getting arrested along with him.
Yes.
Then she divorced him 20 years later when she found out the brother-in-law was murdered. So maybe if she knew about it earlier, she would have left you a lot sooner, Sammy. Okay.
Yeah. And I think part of it too, I have the theory that part of it as well is to protect his assets from forfeiture due to the son of Sam laws too. The divorce is just, and now maybe then it wasn't. Now I think,
we're going to get into the son of Sam law. Okay. We're going to, and how that got passed. We'll get into that.
Yep.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about Karen. I don't like to talk about Karen, but you know what, Karen? You said a couple things. You kind of praised your dad as some kind of hero and stuff. And here's the thing. You said that you were a victim of your father. You called yourself a victim, but here's the thing. Her whole life, of making money has been based on her father. Would you say that's
Mhm.
pretty accurate?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we can go down to, you got involved with the drug dealing with him. You got involved with your businesses because of him. TV shows. You were on Mob Wives as his daughter. We can go on and on and on. So, and I bring this up because we're going to get the Garofalo murders, and Laura Garofalo says that she's not a victim. Because she was saying, what she said is, she said, I'm just like Laura Garofalo. I'm a victim.
Mhm.
Okay. And Laura and her sister are the ones that were responsible for getting the law passed, the Son of Sam law.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to bring them up. It was them that are responsible for it. They're the ones that started it. They're the ones they were upset that Sammy was making all this money. And if it wasn't because of them, he would have gotten all that money for that book and stuff. They wind up getting it, him and the sister. And this
That's
is Laura,
true.
and this is Laura right here.
Okay.
And so let's get into before we get to Laura, I'm going to show you another victim. Victoria Gotti, John Gotti's wife, gets abused by this guy, something awful when he's doing his shows.
Yeah.
He talks about some cabinets and how he went there, and she was acting all nutty and crazy. And but from what I understand, though, here's the real story, Sammy. Maybe you hate her because when you went to her door to put the cabinets in, she opened the door and you were standing at the door, Sammy, and she yelled to her husband, John, honey, the cabinet guy's here. She didn't say Sammy Gravano's here. She called you the cabinet guy. Is that why you're a little bit upset, Sammy? Okay.
Doing it as a joke. It was just a joke, and then
yeah. And it's for him to go there on his show and the way he brutally attacked her. So that's another woman that you attacked. And in this video and in this audio that I just played, did you hear the woman that was shooting the video of him, the young girl?
Oh,
she
disgusting.
laughed. She laughed when this man just brutalized the woman and called the woman ugly.
Yeah, how can you do that to, in this day and age, how can you just sit back and do that? Watch a man abuse a woman like that, someone that's lost her husband, someone that he killed her husband. She is traumatized. She does have emotional, mental issues. She admits it. She's good. There's a lot going on
She loved her
because
husband, and her husband
she
disappeared off
did.
the face of the earth.
Yes.
Okay, and there's another one too. And we're talking businesses. We could talk about Robert DiBernardo, another one that disappeared. His wife came looking for him, and Sammy talked to her one time and said the husband pretty much he had no idea that he was out looking for him, knowing that he just murdered the man.
Mhm.
And that's mafia life. I understand that, but that's another woman because you talked to her one time and told her not to bother you no more.
Mhm.
Okay, so now let's get into the Garofalo. How do you say that last name? Garofalo or?
Yeah, so you have Garafola is one, and then you have
Now,
Garafola.
so we're going to get in. There were two of them, right? There was one that called himself Cousin. He was the cousin, Eddie Garofalo, and then he was cousin to this one, Eddie the Chink Garofalo.
Yeah, so you had cousin Eddie Garafola was married to Fran Gravano. So that's the sister of Sammy. So
Right.
Sammy's sister Fran was married to the cousin Eddie Garafola, and then so that makes cousin Eddie Garafola the brother-in-law to Sammy. Okay, and then you've got this other one that's Eddie the Chink. That's the first cousin of.
That's this one right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And this is the one that was murdered. Explain to us why that murder happened and how it happened.
So the murder happened in 1990, and so according to Sammy, Eddie the Chink had been working as an associate in the family for uh, 15, 20 years. And so he'd been getting into trouble for illegal dumping and fraud related to his demolition business in Jersey. And the they were concerned that he would flip, and according to Sammy. And so the reason for it was kind of weird was that, oh, this guy Eddie the Chink decides to go with a attorney that's not a really well-known mob attorney, and so he decided to go a cheaper route. But the
But
thing was,
there's no evidence of this. This is what Sammy's
no,
saying. There's no evidence of this.
no, and it never was proven, never, and then later is actually pretty much disproven. I mean, the guy had just been in jail for 364 days previously for illegal dumping and racketeering in New Jersey, and so this was not the guy had some problems, obviously during the
A
80s.
gangster with problems. Okay.
Yeah,
That's different.
exactly.
That's new. You're right.
Yeah. So they ended up just so I guess seemed like Sammy was worried. He organized the hit.
Okay, and the hit was, and so okay, so he winds up killing him. He got several men together. This is what he claims, and he claims that one of the cars got pulled over, and by some miracle, they let the guy go. And he also said the cousin disappeared during the hit. So then they wanted to kill the cousin.
Yeah, cousin. Yeah, and he was involved. He's the one that, and then previously it was said, oh well, his cousin Eddie's the one that set him up to for the hit, but then they tried to say that he disappeared and then wanted to get him killed. And
well, do you know the reason he disappeared? He says it. He disappeared because he felt bad about killing his cousin. He didn't want to be in on the hit.
Yeah.
He was forced to be there.
By Sammy.
Yes, he was forced to be there by Sammy. Then Sammy supposedly said, well, maybe I got to kill you. He said that he was told to kill him. But Sammy, of course, put on his Superman cape and finished it all. Okay, so what made this so bad? Okay, this is gangster stuff. We got people killed. They're killing each other. Garofalo gets killed. He's a gangster. It's part of the life. But what really made this whole thing slimy?
Well, because what I see as slimy about is what happened a few years before that, and in the night, probably 5-6 years earlier. So if you always hear Sammy the Bull talk about having a farm there in Cream Ridge, New Jersey. Okay, and so what ended up happening, so this is according to Sammy on his Our Thing, he's saying that Eddie the Chink was a swindler. That's what Sammy called him. Owed a lot of people money, and then he didn't have the money to pay back some of his creditors, and then he showed up to tell the creditor he didn't have money because he was driving a Rolls Royce, which it just seems kind of weird. And anyway, Sammy ends up taking the farm from Eddie the Chink, and then supposedly pays off these creditors that Eddie owed money to, and basically, just took the farm from him and had it given to Sammy, and that's to me it's just horrible, because
that's his story once again. And if you listen to the Garofalo sisters, that's not what happened. And this is why he was making a lot of money. Well, he was going to make a lot of money off his book that he did. And what was the name of his book again? It was a bestseller.
Underboss. Talking about Sammy.
So he was going to underboss, and Laura and her sister were very persistent, and they wind up winning. And eventually when he went to Arizona, they passed it there too. So Sammy hates these women.
Yeah,
he hates being upended. And that's what happened here. And so when you think about that, it's like he talks about being kind and all this stuff, but there's been a string of women here that he has just abused the hell out of.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, you know, he talks about he's not this what you call he's not a psychopath and all that, but then look at how he talks about women and children. He just what he does is just despicable. And then he has a surrounding cast of people that just laugh and think it's so funny, you know, when he pulls this. But again, he says this always about the people that he doesn't like, the people that have supposedly done him wrong, are the victims that he's killed. You know, he's never killed anyone that didn't deserve it in his eyes, you know.
And to finish this off, we're going to get into the Faraci family. And well, at that time, the Kaiser, what Joy's married, she's still
Right.
that's the sister. We're going to get into this. This is another thing. You want to, you know, here 20 years later, these people find out that their brother was murdered by Sammy.
Mm.
And what did Sammy do on his podcast? He called the kid a drug addict, and he said
Yeah.
the kid was running at him. And
Yeah, they're saying that he was high on drugs and not, you know, basically acting like a guy was just coming at him, you know.
And here's what
Not
authorities
true.
said. Authorities said one of the victims was 16-year-old Alan Kaiser, an innocent bystander shot and killed seconds after witnessing Gravano, an associate, carrying out a drive-by shooting in Bensonhurst. 42 years later, when Staten Island, Joy and Thomas Faraci's sister and brother-in-law to Kaiser were asked about their grandchildren, about the photo on the wall. And I'm going to show you some of the pictures. And then I just want you to see, because you got to put a face to the victim. And this is a family that when the FBI went there and said to them, oh, your brother, it was just admitted by Sammy that that he killed your brother. And then they were told, but he's not going to get no time for doing it, even though he admitted it, because we're going to give him a deal to get out of prison. Okay.
Yeah.
And in this article, they bring the guy to life. I mean, and this family was devastated. More women being devastated by Sammy and the abuse that when he goes on and does his show and lies about how their brother died. You know, saying that him to say, oh, he must have been high on drugs. There was none found in his body. The autopsy report is that he was running away when he shot Sammy. Said he tried to grab the gun.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what you get with Sammy Gravano. That's it. And it's lie after lie, abuse of women all over the place. And for that young lady that laughed when Sammy did that, shame on you. I mean, come on, this is 2023 and you're there laughing when this man shames a woman who that is beautiful and calls her ugly. So
yeah.
Tell me what you think about all this in general.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it's just to me, what bothers me, I just can't understand how he can't have any sort of regret, have any sort of human decency. Why can't he say that he was wrong or I'm sorry? Why can't he do anything to show any sign of remorse? Does he not care about victims? He doesn't care about the families that have lost their loved ones. And they weren't all involved in the life. These women, these children, they weren't in that life. It's not their fault if they had family members in that life. But everything. It would be one thing if he said what happened but didn't attack them. If he was doing, but he wants to change the narrative of history, and so his cousin, the cousin Eddie, so Fran's husband, that Fran Gravano's husband, Eddie.
And just so you know, he wound up dying in prison in 2020.
Yes.
And he tried to get out on compassionate release. They rejected him, and he wound up dying in prison.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. Is even with him, in all of these stories, if he talks about Eddie as being also a schemer and a bad guy, but he was the reason that Sammy was able to do well in the construction business, because this cousin Eddie actually did understand the business. He taught also with the unions. He taught Mikey Scars, when he was given some of that business that Sammy had when Sammy flipped, he actually worked with the cousin Eddie, and he understood how to do construction and everything. And so, this guy as well was attacked, and this is, a guy that's dead, and it was his sister's husband. And so he doesn't, Sammy, again, he has to be the hero. He has to he has to be the one that uh, did everything in his power to not let it happen, while he was the one that pulled the strings behind it. So that's my thoughts.
I think those are great thoughts, and it's nonstop. It's like, who's it going to be tomorrow? It's obvious that he doesn't believe in heaven and hell, because the way he's acting, and you'll see the thumbnail here, and when this is put up, and it's, come on, it's like you get to a certain point and you're 78 years old. You may not wake up tomorrow, and you're still attacking people on here and laughing about people, mocking people nonstop.
I feel he's embarrassing himself with having these lives. He shouldn't be even doing these lives. And then
he's making money. That's why he's doing it.
Well, he's making money. Yeah.
People that's when he gets his donations. He wouldn't be doing them if he wasn't making money. So it's obvious that he is making money, and there's money he gets behind the scenes. There's all sorts of things that are going on. And
that's true.
That's all fine and good if he wants to make money, but stop going after these women. Anything else you'd like to say before we close this out?
No. I mean, it's just just whenever I heard, I listened to it last week, and brought to your attention, and we, it's just horrible. And we were going to do the show earlier, but we had the 2 interviews that we did, and so please, if you haven't checked out the one we did with Matthew Mary yesterday, that was a great video and interview. And then obviously on Sunday we did this same one with Wise Guy TV. So a couple of great interviews that we spent a lot of time on, but we wanted to get to this story as well. So I'm glad we did.
Let's roll call a couple of his victims, people, just so we remember this man sitting up there right now insulting people. And some of these men, they're gangsters, and that was the life. But I'm just going to put them up. We got Louie Milito. Then we got Louis DeBono, Robert DiBernardo, Eddie Garofalo, and Alan Kaiser. And that's just 5 guys. There's many more. We did shows on this. People, this is who this man is. And it's one thing though, if he says, that was a horrible part of my life. And I did it. It was part of the life. And then showed some remorse about Alan Kaiser, or showed some remorse about Louie Milito's wife, instead of insulting her and calling her ugly. Milito. Okay. I just wanted to say that. And people, just so you know, please subscribe. Oh, wrong one. Wrong one. And I took the right one off of here. Okay. Oh, here we go. Please subscribe. Hit the like, the reminder bell. Subscribe, like, reminder. We appreciate that. And I hope you enjoy this. And that's it, James. You have a nice one.
Yep. Thank you. Enjoyed it. All right. Take care.